Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vex Warfield. I am Vex, your host. Tonight, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, as usual. But one thing I really wanted to do is promote this again. The Paul Harvey, If I Was the Devil. Because, quite frankly, he spells it out pretty well. And to tell you the truth, when I first heard it, it blew my mind that somebody actually put it into words. So we'll go ahead and throw that up on screen. And we'll go ahead and get this going. Then we'll do a little talk afterwards. Make sure I got the right one. Here we go.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what is good and what's good is correct. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized, educate others how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn is consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at the school's door. In a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until he killed the inventive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I ask you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Paul Harvey. Good day.
Good day. Yeah. Hey, Common Sense Commonwealth. Or, damn, said that wrong. Common Sense Commonwealth. Yeah, Paul Harvey, he pretty much nailed it. Hey, Survival. Yeah, Paul Harvey pretty much nailed it and put it out there a long time ago, 1965. And right now we're living through it. Right now. I mean, it didn't take him, much to put it together if you really think about it. I mean, all you have to do is, explore the past a little bit. Rome. I mean, It's pretty much the same way. I mean, updated version, of course, but same thing. Almost like all of it's designed to fail. Yeah, this is something that's... Oh, let me go ahead and pull this down. Yeah, this is something that like I said, when I first heard it, it blew my mind because there it was. And when I first heard it, it was so long ago, I didn't actually know what it was, but I listened to it and I was just like, I was younger and a lot of this wasn't going on yet. And hey, Mark, good to see you. And damn, I lost my train of thought, bouncing between windows here. Yeah, it's see, well, I do admire Paul Harvey and a lot of the work he's done. He wasn't, looking into the future like he, could see the future. No, it was all planned out. They wrote books about all this. They didn't publicize it, out there in the public, because quite frankly, why would you want everybody to have your playbook? But they did publicize it. They just didn't market it around. As Alex Jones talks about it all the time, how it's some sort of sick need to tell you what they're doing. So, like I said, they write books about it and explain plans, going back before the building of the nation itself. I mean, every civilized... No, that's not a good way to say it. Yeah, well, all right, just say it this way. Basically, every civilization has had its rot. Now, that's just a byproduct of the civilization. You're going to have good and bad and everything in every type. But if you grow up only doing good things, it's not going to be as much of a factor. But if you have outside influences that give the people the idea to deviate from the good, this is what happens. And it may not be all at one time. Just one thing, one small thing. Hey, Carolyn, good to see you. Just one small thing, which enables them to do another small thing, which enables them to do another small thing, and so on. But it's the patterns they use, because if you do it all at once, that's when, armies get involved and, things go hot and there's wars and stuff like that. Well, the other way to do it is to do it little by little. And what's happening right now is a perfect example of how they did it little by little. They didn't do all this sweeping legislation and all that stuff way back when they first started this. Hey, Four Corners, good to see you. They didn't do this a long time ago. I mean, not all at once anyway. They did it in little things, just little things. They tweaked this, they tweaked that, so it enables them to open a door to something else. I basically call it, legalese loopholes, because that's what they did. They went and Swiss cheesed the Constitution and things like that, so that it enabled them to do other things, which enabled them to do other things. I mean, I didn't realize how much morality would come into play. As a matter of fact, I was actually one of those people who, wasn't all that moral. I mean, I had a sense of morality, which I learned from my mother. She was a good person. But on the other side, I learned how to be real mean through my father. So I was able to kind of, I don't know, get taught by both sides. But what my mom taught me stuck with me the most. Oh, I forgot to turn this on too. I'm just all rattle-brained right now. Gotta put up my good vibe music. All right. Now put that up there, and then I do that. Yeah, that'll work. All right. Now we can do the official chill. What was I saying? Yeah, there you go. Good vibrations. All. It's nice to see you. Is the central aspect of the foundation of any civilized society. Don't have a good moral foundation, there's nothing to fall back on. Yes, exactly. Like a frog boiling in water. You slowly turn up the heat. And it thinks it's in a jacuzzi. Little by little. And it worked. Absolutely worked. I mean, look right now. It's proven. And like I was saying, morality, if you don't have a firm foundation of morality, then you have nothing strong to build upon. And, you know, if you build a massive house on sand, well, that sucker's not going to last very long. And that's basically what they've done. They've taken a strong foundation and they've Swiss cheesed it. Essentially, put holes all through it. And now we're in the process of watching it crumble. Make no mistake, right now we're in such a full economic crash. Now, when I say that, I mean full. Now, being kind of a middle-of-the-road type of person in general, I see there's good things and bad things in it. Because one, this freaking corrupt system needs to go down, so why not allow it to go? Yeah, common sense. That's a good way to put it. But it's good and bad. Because while it needs to fall, if we don't have something to replace it, then we basically devolve into complete chaos. And it's women and child development, or family, or gang, whatever. And that's no way to have any type of society. Because it doesn't work. The strong will survive only. And the weak will become slaves in one way or another. That's why I say that the strong moral foundation is essential. Now, it's just something that you can start with is basically just right from wrong. I've talked about this many times about your gut feelings. Trust them, and you won't go wrong. The only time you go wrong is when you don't trust them. Don't listen to them. So, and if you have a strong moral foundation, or at least a decent moral foundation, that is good enough to build upon. And plus, you can teach others how to have a moral foundation itself. Best way to do it is standing up for yourself. I don't mean, automatically jumping into fist fights and stuff like that. I mean standing up for yourself, knowing who you are, knowing what your limitations are. Soul searching, I guess, is a good way to put it. If you don't know who you are, how are you going to know who anybody else is? That is a good way of saying something that would be, get some balls and be a man. Take care of yours. That's the general purpose of what we need to go back to. That's a fucked up sentence. But that's what we need to go back to. The old ways of doing things, as far as, well, when I think of this, I think of a farmer taking care of his land. Nobody can tell him what to do on his land because his land is his and no one else's, and he has final say over what happens on that land, period. And if that man didn't do what he was supposed to do, then his crops would fail. If he had livestock, they would die. Traditional American values. Yes. So that man, every morning he would get up, whether he felt good or not, and he would do what he needed to do to make sure that things on that land went the way it should. And if it didn't, he found a way to fix it. He didn't go and, blame the seller of the cow for it dying for his lack of taking care of it. No, he just took care of it himself. He didn't go whining and crying. This is something that we have to combat. Hey, Conservative Patriot, good to see you, brother. Haven't seen you in a while. But this is something that has been lost on today's society. And it's not going to be simple to get it back. I mean, we can already see right now how the media are starting to crumble. And that's good news. But what they're going to do is just, tear it down, shake it up a little bit, and then rebrand it and stick it back on the air. I mean, unless we go to the root source of it, then it's just going to keep growing. Like a hydra. Cut off one head, two more grows in its place. I mean, we all heard about, CNN basically, finally figuring out that they can't sustain themselves, so they're going to have to do a lot of shaking up. But it's not going to do any good because their names are already. They can't do it. No, that's good news. But it's also bad news. Because that means they're going to, like I said, go and shake it up a bit, put a new bow on it, new wrapping, and shove it in their face. And say, this is the new improved. And put some sort of, name on it, like, Patriot Todd or whatever. Just to, smoke where we're going to be able to get a few viewers. Good. Yeah. Hope you're feeling good. But my overall topic of the night is kind of loose because whether we talk about the past, we talk about the future, or we talk about space, it's all connected. I love saying that. Oh, we got a bot. Let's see. Remove. Hey, don't do that, Carol. I almost removed you. That lettering you put up, I almost clicked on you. Right on. All right. Like I said, my topic is fairly loose tonight, so I'm just going to go ahead and go straight to the channel and throw this out there. Otherwise, I'm just going to probably do a whole bunch of run-on sentences and probably raise my voice, and you know how I do. So right here's the link. Go ahead and hop up here. Tell me something I don't know, because I want to know it. And I'll go ahead and pin that. Yeah, report them spam. Oh, whoops. Careful what I click on. Let's see, what should I report it for? Hate speech? Oh, I heard a ding.
Hey.
How you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. Still kind of going over the debate from last night, and I mean, tonight's topic does play into that very heavily, right? So we've had past discussions over here about, America losing the keys to the car for a couple hundred years and expecting, the car to drive itself. Now, for a good portion of that debate, I'm sitting there going, are they ready to hear the real truth? Are they ready to hear where they can find the solutions that they're looking for? Because the reality is the devil himself takes a very insidious tactic in making everybody feel powerless, making everybody feel that they don't have a voice, that, there's so much doubt being put on not only our ability to do anything about it, but as well as, weaseling his way in to put that same doubt on everyone else. Towards the end of the debate, the part of the discussion went to, the school systems, and with the way that the school system works, and even voting and trying to have a say in what money gets spent to, properly educate kids in these inner cities and in communities. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, you can, one, request the budget from the county or from the city, and they have to give it to you. It's public information. It's freedom of information. And then you can look at what they spend those monies on, because if you've got 90% of the community is actively voicing what they want done in that community and giving them basically the blueprint to run the community and saying, this is what your job is, and then they largely are not heard, and none of the money goes to the different programs that would actually afford for better school books, more assistance in the classrooms for the kids, all of those kinds of things. At that point, you're being played a fool willingly.
Yeah.
And it's just on the basis of not really understanding what we can do if we work together to do it.
And that's the hurdle we're all having to, well, that's the hurdle we're all trying to get over. I mean, understanding what we can do and, well, the lack of understanding what we can do plays perfectly into all this. Because, quite frankly, I mean, you talk about the school systems. I compare it to China. Would you want to send your kids to China to go to school? No, I would really think that everybody would say, hell no, I wouldn't ever do that.
Absolutely not.
Right. Well, why would you put it in the public school system then? Because, quite frankly, it's modeling after China. So, I mean, this is something that people aren't even waking up to. This gravity that they've accepted the steps. It's almost like, slowly getting poisoned. Oh, well, the poison doesn't back, so I'll just keep on eating it. It's still going to kill you.
Right. And the problem is, like I said, is this whole overall insidious, continual cycle of this is the group that's the problem. And as long as they're here, the problem's never going to be fixed. But it completely deflects from the fact that we have the ability to fix that right there. And the problem itself is the solution. Right? And yes. And understanding that there is no privilege, there's only ignorance. That's the truth of the argument. The argument is do you know what you are capable of? Do you know that you don't have to resort to, violence to be heard? You don't have to resort to all of these things because they're just going to run amok with it at the end of the day, no matter what. They'll throw you a few crumbs and hopefully that pacifies people enough to get rocked right back to sleep to ignore the next time that they use and abuse us.
Yeah, Mark just said, I think the government is bullying it all up myself. Well, you're dead on the money. I mean, that's one of the terms I like to use myself, bullying. That's the way they are pushing forth all this stuff. They're bullying us. And all we have to do is tell them no. And
right.
People are too scared to even do that.
The government essentially is the bully in the schoolyard that's trying to get everybody's lunch money. That's the perfect analogy. Right? And it takes 2 or 3 different kids to stand up together and go, you ain't going to get one of us. You're not going to sneak and get one of us collectively. You got to get us all. Good luck with it.
And also, real quick, hello, Conservative Patriot. And hello, Survival.
Hey.
Looks like
what's up?
Conservative.
I just got to step outside for a second here.
Right on. Welcome, TCB. P.
I just like the point you guys are making that I think you said the government's the bully in a way, and it reminded me of the conversation I was having with my buddies earlier today. We came to the conclusion that the left has control of the government, right? Over all the systems in the government, and it's a dehumanizing strategy to beat us down until we give up. And that's what they want. They want conformity out of everyone. And so they're doing things. There's little tactics, like you guys are saying. These little jabs. Like today, I don't know if you guys saw it, Coca-Cola decided that Santa Claus is black now. Well, it's like whatever,
Okay.
But there's those little jabs where it's like, I don't think Santa Claus is black. If black people want to think Santa Claus is black, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. Did you guys ever watch that?
That happens in almost every home. There's always going to be some sort of self-representation. So it shouldn't matter.
You ever see
the big funny thing about that though is that Coca-Cola actually had a recall on like 3 or 4 of their different products from Minute Maid.
Yeah, I went down. Did you ever see, on a funny note, Did you guys ever watch that show, The Office, like a decade ago?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There was one Christmas episode where the black guy in the office was like, "I'm sick of all this bullshit about every different kind of Christmas. I just want regular Christmas. I want white Santa Claus." It was really funny. It was like a funny ass rant. It was a classic one.
I don't know. I maybe I don't want to destroy it for some of you people out there that may be listening later on, or even people in chat or on panel. But Santa Claus is fake.
Oh no, dude!
Santa Claus is actually
spoiler alert.
It's more than that, man, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother stream. But yeah.
Oh, you are the conspiracy queen. I forget about that. And I don't know
Yes,
you
I
too
am.
well. I don't know you very well yet.
So for my take, Santa Claus is actually a representation of Satan. Even the lettering's even the same, right? The devil will let you get away with everything under the sun and still, try to give you more.
Well, who knows if you've been bad or good though, too.
But how many kids actually get rocks or coal or whatever the hell it is supposed to be if they're actually naughty? I mean, in all reality, right?
It's more like if you're poor, you don't get shit. So the kids are brainwashed to think they're not good because they don't get shit because they're poor.
Well, my recollection, now I could be wrong, but my recollection was that Santa, the original thing, came from a pagan god.
Yep.
Damn, I'm losing it.
I got you.
All right, go for it.
Santa that came through original pagan mythology was basically, a co-partner with somebody called Black Nicholas, right? And Black Nicholas was used as a fear tool, back in the day, way back in the day, to the point to where they represented this other figure. Black Nicholas is like a Krampus demon, right? And
Yep.
The Krampus itself was supposed to be the good guy, even though he's represented as a dark-skinned individual. He's represented also as a demon. But what Krampus was supposed to do was Krampus whooped your ass with switches to basically correct you and to bring you back around to good behavior. He didn't reward you for bad behavior and, reinforce bad behavior all the way around the board, creating a spoiled child. Krampus was supposed to correct those wrongs that were done and was the opposite, the polar opposite, literally, of Santa, which if Krampus is supposed to be the good guy, then what the hell is Santa?
Yeah, I haven't heard that before. That's cool.
If you start looking into most of the holidays that we celebrate now, and the I guess the importance we put in them, it's all false. I mean, just take Halloween for example. Pagan god again.
Yes. The literal celebration of the time of the year where it's thought to be this very veil between the spirit world is the thinnest, and the dead are supposed to walk amongst us. And the whole concept of dressing up was to disguise yourself,
exactly,
so that you weren't attacked amongst these deceased souls, right? Because the very next day you have what's called like All Saints Day, or the Day of the Dead in a lot of cultures, and that's to give homage as they return back to
and that's the
their places of rest.
We have more celebration in Halloween, not necessarily a great holiday in its origins, but the day after is supposed to be All Saints Day, a good holiday, something that should be celebrated, and nobody knows a damn thing about it. Well, there's the contrast right there. I mean, all the stuff that is not necessarily good for us is promoted, while the good things are buried And that's the pattern that's been followed throughout most of our culture now. And that's one of the
just like
reasons
Paul
why
Harvey.
I did Paul Harvey. It's because it's all just nickel and diamonds throughout our whole history here on this land. And they've changed meanings, and they've changed the words, and they've changed our holidays. I mean, Valentine's Day. Does anybody got any background on that one?
St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And now it's about chocolates and diamonds.
And love notes.
They totally twisted it and made it
What is,
into basically money-making schemes.
This is a little bit off. I mean, it's on the same topic, but it is more of a question because, and kind of a question for Carol, or Conspiracy Queen, because I was watching her. She posted her debate in your Discord channel, so I went and watched. There was a moderator. What's that?
I didn't know he had it. Discord.
Oh, I was watching. I was told not to say anything during the debate because they'll block you. And I watched some of my friends because I invited some other people, and they sure as hell got triggered by a lot of the people that were there, Carolyn.
Mm-hmm.
And they made comments, and those people got triggered by their comments and booted them out of there. But one of the moderators in there was very, very racist towards white people, and he mentioned that he was a pretty ignorant person, really, but he was saying that St. Patrick's Day is a white supremacist holiday, and I don't really know a whole lot about St. Patrick, but this is kind of going along the lines of this.
Okay, so I get where he's going with this, and I get the point, right? The point is that, St. Patrick's Day in Ireland was the day that the patron St. Patrick literally ran all the snakes off the island. Okay. And it became a holiday just because of that, right? It was a big celebration because apparently at one point in history, they were, because it is a small island to a certain degree, and if you end up with a very virulent species that's on an island, it can certainly overtake the island in no time, Think of the huntsman spiders in Australia. Just saying.
Yeah. There's small islands even over where I live that have problems with infestations of like all things like foxes and shit. So yeah, if islands get infested with animals if you bring them in there, they're not native. But it just was real ignorant to hear this person that this channel decided should be a moderator, just kicking out people for being really reasonable, and then saying extreme things about races and stuff. And then you were up there and you were very cordial with everyone. And then they said that you lost the debate, and I don't know, it kind of irritated me. It was very, very biased. I don't even know why you even wasted your time with them, because
the whole point was she wanted to debate the topic, and then she took 4.
They had their mind up before you even opened your mouth.
Well, and that's fine, right? I went into it just to have the dialogue, okay? Because I knew that this was a very calculated move in the fact that for her to take 4, I have to take against. Yeah. So number 1, I'm already, and I told him flat out, I agree that it exists. So it'll be interesting to try to
I don't think
debate
that they
on the opposite side. No, they knew. They knew. They knew.
No, but they didn't. If they would have understood your points, though, they would have agreed with you. Because I thought that they were trying to stand up for the point that white privilege painted over all white people is what white privilege is. And I think you were trying to make the point that there is a white privilege in the elite class of white people, that like people like me and everybody else in the chat that all have to work and get up in the morning and do everything, I don't think we have an inherent white privilege. And if there is a white privilege, I know privileged black people that have more privilege than I have, or were born into it, more than me. So
let me explain the very basic tenet, right? It is very simple. I listened
to the whole thing yesterday, and you made perfect sense, and that's why I was agreeing with you. I just don't understand why they didn't agree with you.
Because I didn't. Okay, so the point is is I can't concede to an argument that I'm basing, because that makes me lose right there. And, from some of the questions, it's very difficult to, and this is where true skill comes in, is being able to, form a strong case on something that you don't believe in. It's kind of like the tobacco lobbyist, right? Flexible morality kind of thing, or just skill all the way around the board. But the basic tenet of, the so-called concept of white privilege stems from, it doesn't mean that we don't struggle. What it simply means is that our skin color is not held against us by our peers and others of our same group.
It did in that chat room.
But none of them are white.
Yeah, I know. And
not a single person in that, not one person on that channel,
on the
none
panel.
of the judges, none of the moderators, not even the mods in the chat, or the majority of the chat itself are white people. None of them.
No, some of my white friends were, though, and they were asking questions, were very reasonable, being very cordial, and were booted out and had a lot of nasty things to be said about white people. And it's like, well, so his privilege goes right away when you get a hold of him, doesn't it? For some of these moderators, they get that power and they're like, boot you right out because of your skin color.
But here's where it differs, right? Okay, there is definitely prejudice, but the point is that, for a tribalistic mentality, loving your own first is never necessarily about hating everybody else. That's the core tenet. It doesn't mean that you hate everybody else. It means that you want to be able to build yours, put yours, and live with yours first, period. And there's nothing inherently racist or necessarily even biased about that, particularly in the given circumstances of, even the misrepresentation between the media and the numbers and the statistics in and of themselves, are set against an entire group of people to make them feel that they are inferior.
Well, see, that's the whole trick about all this. Is, they're dealing with absolutes, and are no absolutes. Even in this debate in itself, there are shades of gray, because on one small hand, there are white privilege, but there's also black privilege, and there's also Hispanic and whatever nationality. They play upon the absolutes so it confuses the core debate itself. So that we have these debates. You guys had this debate. And what came of it? Was it just...
Not much. They decided the white privilege was 100% real, but they didn't agree with Carolyn's premise because they weren't listening to her.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. We're not trained to listen anymore.
But to that extent as well, right? When I have a judge that that won in my opening argument, and I know why she did it, and I mean, it was damn brilliant. I let it slide because I know exactly what it was. It was an easy win either way, right?
It wasn't really a big fight. Like I don't know who's the guy that puts it on. He seemed pretty cool. He seemed pretty unbiased, really. The guy that was putting it on, but he kept typing it like, "Oh, it's gonna get heated. It's gonna get heated." It never did get heated. You guys were both really cordial about your discussion, so that I thought went well. But at the end of the day, when the judges had deliberated, I could just, I felt like I wasted my time there. Like, man, I got an hour and they're just going to all, I don't know. The reasoning for picking the other girl, I thought was pretty biased. I don't think they listened to what you had to say.
Well, and that's why. That's also too.
Online. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's Borgin for me a little bit, so I don't know if I'm stepping on anybody.
Go ahead.
The first portion is during my opening argument, one of the judges asked if I was plagiarizing material.
I heard it. That was a slap in the face.
And I'm just like, okay, I get it. See, she's trying to fluster me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
But
not
from a
going to be
judge.
flustered. Yeah, I'm not going to be flustered. I'm not going to be thrown off my game. I know what I'm here to do. I came prepared. I understood the assignment. It took me days to put that opening statement together. And,
I
to
knew
one
right
extent,
I knew right
to
then
one
where it was gonna
extent,
go.
I knew that she was trying to cast doubt and discredit the argument. And then continuing after that to use conspiracy theorist out loud multiple times that discredits to me the entire argument as well as, my credibility. And that was towards the other judges to help sway the other judges, in my opinion. And I get it. I mean, it was a brilliant freaking move. If I'd have went in there with my regular name, she wouldn't have been able to do that.
You know what I think
So
would have benefited you if you would have went in right off the bat with I prepared this essay or whatever, or this I wrote an article on this subject and I'm going to read it to you, rather than because it was obviously a reader. So that's why she asked.
No, well, I was reading at the beginning when she started asking questions. I had already ran off my page and I was riffing at that point because I'm sitting there going, okay, I know I have 5 minutes to open this debate and build my case and use that as the framework for my argument. So once I got past the page, I'm going, shit. What do I do? What do I say?
You did really good. You did good. There was a little bit of a low blow from the judge that didn't help your case out, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a heated thing. Nobody's feelings got hurt. They judged it out. I thought you won, but whatever. I wasn't a judge, so who cares, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
live and learn, I guess.
For me, the big point was one of the best debaters that I've run across in all of these streets, handed it to me. One of the second best debaters that I've ever seen in these streets also handed it to me. With the basic idea that to be able to come with an A game on bullshit, literally, that your heart's not in, but still be able to stand strong, stay firm, and not get flustered no matter how many times other people try to interfere to fluster you.
Well, it's a really hard thing. It's really hard. I've done it before too. I've done it with like the Gulag Gang guys and that kind of stuff, to go in and try to say that white privilege is not a thing with everybody else around you being black. It's just really, it's not a fun situation to be in when you're a white guy.
with guys, okay, so here's where the differences are, right? I had 4 more pages that I could have pulled. When she didn't start using statistics, I left mine alone because I wanted to keep it fair. Okay? Yeah. There is a very true point, even if people don't want to believe it, in the fact that people believe a lot of what we say, and that too is privilege. People believe that somehow our ice is colder, our lives are better. We wake up every day with sunshine and roses on our bedstand, with the perfect 72-degree temperature, and it never rains in Whitesville. But that's not the case.
Of course not. And we all know that. And it's not the case. Sorry, I keep interrupting everybody.
Yeah, it's a lot of this is, like I said, it's absolutions. Everybody's being painted with broad brushes, which doesn't help us whatsoever. And the only way we can do this is just keep on plugging with truth. I mean, people are not going to believe it just because they've been marinating in lies of the past, we'll just call it 10 years, just to keep it simple. They've been marinating in this, living it. And once you live something like that, it's hard to break through. And people are to the point now where basically the loudest voice wins the debate, or the biggest slam on the other person, where it's all flash and no substance. Now,
well, hopefully I get the next one, Vex. The next one is she wants to argue that public school is better, and my stance wholeheartedly is homeschool is better.
Oh, man. Or even private school is better than homeschool. But I mean,
So-
not homeschool, but public is what I meant to say. Sorry.
Mhm.
No, homeschool's a good idea, especially these days. Like, which one of you guys made the point about would you send your kid to Chinese school?
Me.
You know,
Yeah.
that was
Dude,
Vex.
It's the same
That was
fucking
Vex.
thing. That's what we got
Right,
in
and-
public now.
and my point, you know, if I get to do this, because at this point, I think I'll take it. Quite honestly, I do. Is what's better for black children in this country. And she says public school, and I'm like, oh God, no. Okay, this is an easy win.
Well, I mean,
Because
it's like saying
Common
Planned Parenthood
Core-
is good for them too.
have to
That's a different conversation, bro.
You're gonna have to have really convincing statistical data for them, and they're gonna
Oh,
have to
there
listen to you
is.
for it. I know there is, but you're gonna have to make good examples and make them listen, because there were people in the chat that in the moderators in the chat room that I was watching. They like Lawrence says they blocked Ragnarok, and Ragnarok is he's a very mild mannered, good guy. He spends a lot of time on the black channels and stuff, and he debates the guys. He's a good dude. And they were like, he's like trying to tell one of the moderators said that he hates white people. And he's like, you should make a white friend. You'd find out like we're all pretty much the fucking same, dude. And like the guy was like, no, and he called him bro. He said, and then the moderator came back with, I'm
Stop
not
calling
your brother.
me bro. I will never be your bro.
That whole thing, you know, and it's like, man, that's just cold. It's like, why not try to?
But here's the
learn?
thing. It's not going to kill. Okay. Why do we as a people? That's another question. That's a good question. Why do we as a people want to be everybody's friend?
Well,
Because, I don't know.
They want to create this division. That's why.
Yeah.
No, and I understand the division. That's the main tenet of the devil's tactic, right? He's using it in every way he possibly can. All the way down to the home units.
I truly do like to be everybody's bro. I want to be everybody's friend. Like, I don't know if that's a problem that I have, because it's hard. It's really weird for me when people don't like me. Like, I don't know why. I'm just like, what? It's weird. You know, I don't take it very well. I think about it too much. I'm like, how can I make them like me now?
You're an introvert. That's
what
why.
did I do wrong? No, I'm not introverted.
You have some introverted tendencies then.
I might, but I'm a pretty extroverted guy.
Well, wanting everybody's acceptance is actually a flaw that you should act. Well, look at it like this: if you're looking for all
it is
the
a character
external,
flaw.
if you're looking for all the external attention, you're not focusing on the internal.
Yeah.
And in fact, you may be running away from your internal.
I follow you. I just, you know, when people just automatically write you off before they even know you, it just, to me, that's like, what? Like,
Well, see,
who's the racist
who they
here?
are.
You know? Yeah.
But more too.
In.
But more
Yeah.
to that. Okay, that speaks more about the other person's unwillingness to potentially be hurt or let down again. Because you don't know. They may have had friends in the past that have consistently let them down, that have consistently proven themselves to not be good friends or worthy friends.
Yeah,
You know,
that
I
makes
think
sense.
every adult has run into that in their lifetime.
For sure. Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not exclusive of any one group, but that speaks more to the other person's past than it does to yourself.
Right. And in this case, it wasn't me trying to do this. It was me watching, because you said don't make any comments because they'll kick you out. So I didn't make any. I just invited my crew to go in there, and you know, a lot of them were black, and so they got to stay. But Ragnarok, he gets in the mix and he gets offended. He gets real offended. He's very introverted, and he does want everybody to like him, and he wants people to accept white people and you know, all that stuff. But you know, it's hard to watch to see him he's a friendly guy. He wants people to like him and stuff, but they shut him down, and it's just like, man, that's kind of shitty. And then you lost the debate, lost in quotes. And I'm like, man, that whole thing sucks. Like shitty hour for me last night.
I mean, and the thing is, right, like I said, I knew that I was going to go into this with a lot weighing against me because, like I said, I'm debating a point that I don't believe.
Well, it gave me a
But
chance to get to know who you were a little bit more because I see you around. I freaking see you on Space Chat of all places.
I know that was funny.
What the fuck?
Space
Yeah, that's
channels.
Man, you guys don't even want to know about
Yeah, what was
Space
that?
Chat. You tell
Yeah.
them.
Universe live streams. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh damn.
If you
I
go
gotcha.
to Fact Nominal, the channel Fact Nominal, just how it sounds, there's a 24/7 live stream always going, and the same characters are in there every day. You can go debate people any day, any time of the day or night you want. There'll be somebody in there that wants to debate you in text.
See,
Yep.
I can't stand debating in text.
Well, that's
It gets
funny,
real
right?
irritating now.
It's funny though, because the second I start discussing about how Masons are influencing a lot of this, division and hustling and all that other stuff, certainly with the race hustling stuff, they inevitably start finding their way into the chat and start trying to fact check me.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you're just proving my point, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick. TCP.
Yeah.
In the private chat, I got a Discord link if you want to smack on that.
Okay. I have to make an account. Oh, just paste.
Yes,
It's
and do
pretty
yourself a favor and save your password, dude.
Yeah.
Carolyn,
That cannot be said enough.
How long have you been going to that Space Chat?
Oh God, it's been probably a year and a half.
Okay, so you know all the same characters. Though.
Yeah, I've seen Davis a bunch of times. I've seen a lot
Well,
of
you get
those same
anything-
people sometimes.
You'll get anywhere from, it's worldwide, you know that. So you'll get people from any part of the world in there, mostly European people or even Australian.
Indian.
Yeah, you get everybody in there, but you'll get anywhere from like some ultra white supremacist people, like some literal Nazi types, and all the way to some real commies, like some straight up leftist, hardcore leftists. So it's just a shit show going on. And then there's drunk Patrick Rowe. Fucking idiot.
Well, since you guys are pausing, hey Sunfish, good to see you.
I got that saved in my folder.
Can you speak up a little bit more, TCP?
Oh, happy days. Why the hell is everything freezing?
It sounds like you're backed away from your microphone.
Should it be? Here we go.
How was your Monday today, then, guys?
All right. Take care, Victoria. I appreciate you coming by. You know you're always welcome.
Pretty good.
Wasn't bad.
Common sense. Is that recent? Common sense, common law? A quake in the Pacific?
Yeah, that's coming out of nowhere. Where you got?
Yeah. That's BPEarthWatch just did a video about big rise in a buoy out there.
Really?
To back up to 7.3, like a 65-foot rise in the buoy.
What? Tsunami incoming? Where?
Let's see.
I live on the top of a hill, but I'm right on the coast, so hopefully it doesn't get like 100 feet high.
Let's see. They don't have any alerts.
We probably would have heard about it. Wonder what part of the Pacific.
Last hour. Okay. Last hour or so. Let me look.
Carolyn, you know Risen Ability.
Brian, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I live right by Brian, and we go get lunch every now and then and stuff. But he's been telling me about all this action going on this active volcano in La Palma, and there's some predictions, or maybe not necessarily. Well, I think they are predictions, but there's been some. what is I'm at a loss for words. Whatever. I've seen some models where they say a piece of that mountain can slide into the water and cause a pretty big damaging tsunami on the East Coast.
Yes.
And so
Well,
that thing's been erupting for how many freaking months now?
It's been going for, I think, 2 months, close to 2 months. Don't quote me.
Yeah, I'd go into that.
Waves
that
that be
chat.
caused by the ocean floor quaking.
Well, not only that, when you've got all of that land, basically the side of the volcano collapsing and going into the water, that's going to create an actual tsunami.
Oh yeah,
Now,
So
they've
the fault line
predicted-
would
you
be
can
huge. You can walk through the fault line. I've seen this video where like the guy walks through the fault line on the mountain. It just looks like it's a hallway, but it's a big crack. It's this big crack in this rock.
Right. And the premise of all of that is that fault line runs thousands of miles, if not a couple 100,000 miles.
It did fall, 8 feet at one point?
Yeah. So they've been predicting for probably about 10 years that if that actually goes off, it's going to do exactly what's depicted in some of these, giant buildings on the East Coast where they've got all of these like pillars. And at the top of the pillars, it depicts literal tsunamis overtaking cities. This is this predictive programming stuff.
Mason type of thing?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to make happen what they want to happen. Yeah. If you look in, I want to say there's buildings in New York and buildings in DC, up and down the East Coast, where they've got this same kind of representation of basically the world being washed away, and certainly, they've depicted that with other movies. So the predictive programming is already there. It's been in place. They tell you what they're going to do before they do it, that kind of thing. And what was interesting, yeah, absolutely. So what, some of the different things that we were looking at with La Palma showed was these very strategic grid patterns of like epicenters of these earthquakes. Now, earthquakes that aren't being affected, that are thought to be natural earthquakes, they do a swarm, right? And when you basically zoom in on whatever the swarm looks like, it's just random little dots all over the place. There's no pattern. But in La Palma, it's literally a freaking like Chex Mix square grid. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is absolutely intentional. They've actually got, I think, a couple of pictures that look like a plasma release, either coming down or going from the actual volcano. Now, that's not uncommon in and of itself. That's a very common thing. But what's also very interesting about that is it's very nature of the fact that it's a grid pattern. It's not a natural, cluster.
I saw that grid pattern, and I don't remember if Risen sent me that or if I just found it on my own. But I remember clearly seeing that one, exactly what you're talking about, where they showed it's very concise grid.
Mm-hmm. Grids are man-made. They don't happen in nature unless you're going to molecular structures. In molecular structure, it's there, but they use that same kind of pattern to manufacture events like they choose.
Yeah.
Because the same way that, specific molecules hold the positive and negative charges, and that actually adheres them to one another, they use that same core principle to break those molecule chains, basically forcing the thing to go off on its own through man's intervention. And that's kind of what I was sticking on, is that this will only happen through man's intervention. And the grid just kind of reinforces it.
So the grid in La Palma, if it is going to create some massive wave that's going to hit the eastern coastal front there, if it is man-made, you got to wonder, are the elites all in on it? Do they all know? Because if anybody notices like any kind of like a uptick of people like getting out of Dodge or something, like maybe
that's been going on.
It'd be a heads up.
That's been going on. That's been something that we've been telling people to pay attention to since 2018. When the handlers and their puppets start disappearing, then it's time to get the hell out of Dodge. When you have entire groups of world leaders stepping down, if you get what I'm saying, and things of that nature, all of these ultra elites, and by ultra elites I don't mean Joe Schmo on the TV, or whoever this is, and potentially a box office film. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. The ones that aren't of these bloodlines, because that's kind of really where the true story comes to. In all of this concept of, what we're dealing with, it all falls back on a bloodline. Okay? The devil created his place in this world and sealed his place in humanity by incepting and infecting the human bloodline that was put here by God.
Was it a good hit, conservative?
Yeah.
Take another one from me, man.
It's a world peace bong rips.
No, good gravy. No, that's not it, mate.
Oh, I'm just looking at the chat now.
Drinking it right down the wrong pipe.
It happens to everybody. It happens to the best of them, man. I'm gonna give a shout out to James Earl Cash in the chat. I see him up there. We were just talking earlier, emailing about our buddy who we haven't heard from in a couple of days. He just got his third Mexican beer jab. And he wasn't feeling very good. And also shout out to Lawrence. I see him. He was in there. I didn't get a chance to say hi to those guys.
Georgia guys.
Yeah.
All of those. Hey, real quick, I love Ukraine. Good to see you. That name is new to me, so welcome. Brevia.
Do they speak English, or does anybody understand what they're saying?
Yeah, I don't read Russian, so I have no idea.
I'm sure it's nice. Yeah.
Whatever.
I believe the saying is "Privyet Muldru," if I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not butchering it too much.
Yeah, it just sounds like, yeah.
But all the people I didn't actually say hi to, hello, welcome. I'm glad you're here, most definitely. Hope you guys are enjoying what we're talking about. And real quick, I'm going to go ahead and play this video here that I got queued up about the earthquake that we were just talking about. So real quick, if you guys do me a favor, go ahead and mute your microphone so there's no echoes. And I'll go ahead and start this.
December the 13th, 2021. Guys, you're looking at the USG earthquake information coming in tonight. And there's a very large quake that happened here. I think it came in as a 7.8, and now they've downgraded it to a 7.3, 18.4 kilometers deep. But this is 120 kilometers north of Mawamir, Indonesia. Very dangerous area. You remember when we had a quake, was it 2004? We lost about 300,000 people on the what we call the Banda Aceh quake. Remember that? Very dangerous area. But what they're saying about this is there's no tsunami warning. It's a very powerful quake, and some of these areas are very shallow. I just want to look at one of the buoys here, and so you can kind of make up your mind for yourself if you want to pay attention to this if you're in this area. This is north of Australia and south of some of the Indonesian islands. And if you switch over to the tsunami information, usually it's pretty correct. It says no tsunami warning, advisory, watch, or threat. And it's giving the location here that we just saw in the earthquake. But I want to look at one of the offshore buoys, guys. And what this buoy is showing, again, this is station 56 001 water column height is about a 25-meter sudden rise. You've got a 5,090 meters. This is 51,010 meters. If you went straight through there, that would be 20 meters, which would be 60 feet. Now you add about another 5 meters to that. So, guys, you're at 75 foot. A sudden raise in the where this buoy is located as far as the depth. Check that out. So, again, they're saying no tsunami warning. And I don't know how to tie that in with this information, but if I was there, I'd be very careful. We're seeing a lot of changes coming on this planet, guys. But again, I want to keep this one quick. If you're in the Indonesian area or you're south of there in the northern Australia area, just keep your eyes open. Again, 65, 70-foot wave or a change in height of where the buoy is nothing to downplay. It's a heads up. Be safe.
There it is. Heads up. Be safe.
Pretty wild
Yeah,
stuff, man.
I like BP. He's always on point with his stuff.
Could you guys think, considering the area that's in, could it be man-made? Could it be China fucking around a little bit? We don't know.
It's possible. I mean, there's been a lot of incidents out there too. We've been kind of going roundabouts in, definitely in a Discord chat about who's going to kick this shenanigans show off first, whether it's going to be Russia or whether it's going to be China, or whether one is going to start first and then the other's going to kick in and, start up right behind them. Both are possible. Even the DOJ says, by 2023, something's going to kick off with China. But at the end of it, it really kind of depends on what moves, Russia decides to do at the end of the day. He's not going to spend all of that time and all of that money putting his resources to moving all of those people to the border of the Ukraine if that was not something that he was already made his mind up to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just not he doesn't bluff. I'll put it that way.
After the war in 2014, in Donetsk and other places,
Mm-hmm.
I watched that. I'm like, good gravy. Like, buildings are shot up. Like, buildings are blown up. It's like, oh, my God.
I'm sorry, I got distracted, guys. I having an argument in Discord.
Oh, geez.
Your argument? You got an argument on Discord going?
Yeah.
What?
I don't
A
see
private
it.
message.
Oh,
Somebody wants me to make him a mod.
Look at my wife for what?
dude, that's
Yeah,
weird,
right.
man. Why do you even need a mod on your channel? Like,
Well, because I
Because
do
it
like
keeps
people
people
posting.
out. Yeah,
Well,
and it keeps people from putting in stuff that'll get your channel taken down in there.
Right.
I mean, I'm in there. I don't see anybody posting anything too bad.
Yeah, that means yes. I know that one.
Yeah, I know who that one is. I love Ukraine. That's who I'm arguing with.
Lord?
Huh?
No,
It's not the Lord Farquaad guy?
No, what? No.
It's not him.
different
Okay.
person. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm distracted because I'm laughing and arguing at the same time. It's a
That's
funny
all
Are you
Yeah.
guys all?
argument.
Are you guys all? If there was to be a water, an ocean rise, sudden ocean tsunami in your areas, all you guys, would you be safe? Are you guys all of higher ground or inland?
oh fuck no, I'm screwed. I'm getting way the hell inland. I'm going about 300 miles inland.
What region
I've got.
are you in? I don't need to know your town or nothing, but
Okay,
what,
well, I've got. I'll lay
region?
it out for you for a very specific reason. I've got the Chesapeake Bay at my feet and rivers on either side.
Yeah,
I'm
you
getting
better
the fuck out.
hightail it. Yeah.
I'm getting the fuck out. We've actually rehearsed our evac route multiple times.
Yeah.
I
if
live in
you
a
don't have
mountainous region, but I'm on the coast.
If you don't have a plan for evacuation wherever you are, I mean, some people are in their spots where they're planning to evacuate too. So I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking about the ones that aren't in the situations that they want to be in. If you don't have a way out and a plan of action, you're slacking. You're severely slacking, and you're going to be at the mercy of all the other people that are around you. So make that plan, and remember, stealth is your best friend.
And not only that, practice it. Practice,
Absolutely.
Multiple scenarios where you're, even potentially separated from your spouse and your children if they're old enough to be out on their own and driving. Have
crap.
multiple meetup points.
We got some people out here, though. Carolyn, look at this. Scrimshaw says she'd be dead, and James says he's going to need to learn how to surf. Common Sense says he'd need a boat. I mean, a lot of us would need a boat if that should happen.
I just need a 4-wheel drive.
I'm high enough to where I won't, unless something really fucking crazy happen. I'm up pretty high.
Well, all I'm going to say about that is
I've been hearing this stuff for the last couple of months.
If it goes wrong, I'm taking everything that I can, and I'm going to the nearest boat that I can get to, and that bitch is becoming mine.
Yeah, and this is just hypothetical. This is hypothetical. I'm not predicting nothing. I'm just hypothetical. It's just for fun.
Well, I've done the hypothetical, but I've also gone across both of those rivers multiple times throughout the course of my life, so I know how long it takes to get across them. If it were to be a state of, makeshift boat, I've even practiced, if need be, what that scenario is going to be like in multiple times of the year.
Are you thinking if the bridge collapses or?
If it's completely impassable, there's no other option but a boat.
Yeah, you're right.
That's going to be the only option. And then at that point, whatever vehicle you can get to get the hell out. If you can barter your way out to get far enough inland, and then barter your way again to get far enough away from that person.
James is buying a submarine on Amazon right now. Yeah, James is buying a yellow submarine right now. For like 6 people.
The truth of the matter is, we don't really know what's happening.
No, I'm not buying a submarine.
But we can extrapolate from things we do know already. Now,
it's good things to think about.
Well,
it definitely is. And, at least for me, imagine living in South Florida and the only option to get anywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
This is the perfect explanation to give you guys a picture in your head. Okay. Where I'm at, the nearest land is about 15 miles away, roughly. Okay. And in between that is a body of water. On one side, it's much closer. It's maybe 4 miles away. But that puts me closer to other inlets and closer to Delaware, where that whole portion of that area is not protected. I have more protection going on to Virginia, go to the Virginia side, than I do going north, because the only way out of this area is over bridges. I've got 3 different bridges to go over. So, the further north I go, the more congested it's going to be, because that's going to be everybody from PG County, Charles County, Anne Arundel County, all of those other counties trying to get out of DC proper.
Well, a lot of the things that we're going to have
Better
to deal
hope it
with
never
is
happens.
the flood of people coming from those areas.
Oh, yeah. It's big, jammed up. We've all seen the movies. You know what a big, jammed up traffic jam looks like.
Oh, yeah.
It's always on the interstates.
Yeah.
And in that probability, right, if we have hours, if not days, if it's looking like, this is going to pop off within days.
I have an ATV that I plan on using if that kind of shit happens.
But that only works. if the river completely freezes over.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
which
I
is
don't have a
possible
river
during this
where
winter.
I need to go.
I mean, hell, that's what I said earlier about all I need is a 4-wheel drive. I'll be fine. But you were talking about the freezing over. Well, this winter is going to be a very harsh one, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you East Coast too?
Everywhere.
Or,
it's going to be
no, but I mean, are you though? I mean, and you know, I'm not trying to fucking dox you, dude.
No, I'm in Missouri.
Oh yeah, that's right. Fuck, I knew that.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the sea level? Where are you compared to sea level there? I forget. What's your elevation?
We're well, where I'm at right now is a river town. So it's relatively low, but it goes up
farther
to
inland.
500 to 600. There, let me go ahead and look.
Do you think you'd be affected by anything like that? I don't know anything about Missouri.
Well,
if the new Madrid goes off and they let those levees loose, that could cause problems.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
But for the most part, we're landlocked in the center. I mean, we're right next to Kansas, so I mean, we're right there in the middle.
I like Scrimshaw Rose's attitude. It's like, it's whatever. I'll be swimming. Let's go swimming, guys.
For those coastline areas, you're better off digging a bunker and getting some scuba gear.
Life rafts.
Those will come after the scuba gear because you go in your underground bunker, wait for the wave to hit, and then come out afterwards. Use that inflatable raft to bring you to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
How do you spell elevation? ELEVATION.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Maybe somebody should like mock up some inflatable submarine that you could sell on Amazon for $50. You could make for $5.
Well, if the water's warm enough,
emergency submarine, guys.
If the water's warm enough, all you need is enough floaties to float you and that air pocket on an upturned boat to get you across the river.
I'm going to go to Shark Tank with my fucking inflatable submarine for emergency crisis.
All right. Here we go. Elevation of Missouri is 304 meters to 997 feet.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't hate on the floaties. I see y'all down there in the chat. I'm just saying the floaties will keep me out of the water and I can utilize that air pocket on the upturned boat just to get across the river, man. Don't hate on the game.
What was that movie that they had where the tsunami came into the city and like everybody was all and there's just debris everywhere. People getting stuck with nails and
The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a hard one to watch because like you think you're like, all right, I'll just do this and that, and then you're like, oh yeah, there's everything in the water with you.
Well, that's the probability.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the probability of like a couple of Cat 5s out in the ocean at one time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a possibility. It's not unheard of, but it is a possibility.
So what is this? It's the programming that they do. It's the movie. What's the term for it? When they get you ready for something, or they get you
predictive programming.
Pre-programming.
Yeah. So when are we gonna get? When are the aliens coming? Because
they've been predicting that since the early sci-fi movies. The Day the Earth Stood Still was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
They better get here quick.
Well, I got a small theory on that.
You got another
aliens are going to invade us.
There's another bot.
Well,
here.
I do too.
Olivia, thank you for coming. Somebody get Olivia.
Hello, Olivia. Welcome. And now goodbye.
We'll all check out VarkTech.
Yeah.
Predictive programming, NC Girl. Yeah, I lost the words. But yeah, when are the aliens coming? When are we going to get the tsunami? When are we going to have an earthquake like that?
Well, let's not ask for trouble or borrow trouble.
I don't want no trouble. None of it. If they're doing
So, overstanding with the game plan, right? This kind of goes, like I said, back to the bloodlines thing, right? These beings, the lie is that these beings, this is my theory. It's probably similar to Vex's, but Vex can certainly put his, spin on this. These entities have been here long before us. The lie is that they're aliens. Okay, that's some fantasized Hollywood, whitewashing of, some benevolent ET little, Eddie Torres dude that's here just to, eat some M&Ms or Reese's Pieces or whatever it is and get back to home. But if you go back to like the Bible issues, and certainly evidences in the Bible of like the Nephilim and the Rahim and
you ever hear of
Giants.
Valiant Thor?
Mm-hmm.
What's up with that guy?
Thor
Norse
is
god.
a
Valiant
yeah.
Thor. From the 80s or from the 70s.
I think it's still the
six
same
fingers.
thing, right?
Pretty
You
much.
I
guys
think
had
it's still the same thing. That was one of the things, like a lot of the giants were 6-fingered.
No, this guy lived in the White House. He lived in the White House or something like that in like the 70s.
I'm sorry.
You guys haven't
heard
dig
of-
up some sauce on that.
Look up Valiant Thor real quick. You tell me. There's
I've
a
heard
real quick
about
one.
it, but I'm
Click that up real quick. Dude, I'm not the conspiracy king. I just hear it could be fucking really stupid, and I might just be a dumbass. So, but it's kind of cool.
Okay. Valiant Thor arrived in a ship which landed in Alexandria, Virginia, in an agricultural field, according to Dr. Strange's. We're talking about a comic? What?
Is it a comic?
Hold on. I'm going to click
I
on the
don't think
page
it
and
is.
see
It's
what
not supposed
it
to be a comic.
Well, here's the fun part with that, right? There are a lot of different kinds of media, certainly with video games and comics and stuff, that have been also giving us this soft disclosure for decades.
Oh, sure.
The whole concept of metahumans stems from, this, if you will, God gene flipping on that we all possess. That's a latent piece of our DNA that's going to come and wake up when we are faced with, an existential crisis towards the end times. And it may be simply, gifts of discernment. It may be gifts of deliverance. It may be many things. Who knows what it's going to be? But the concepts of metahumans has been around for as long as there's been tales of demigods and goddesses and things like that. And those are the very tenets of what a Nephilim and, in essence, some of these old, very, very ancient concepts really stem from.
Have you ever seen those depictions on some of the ancient Egyptian and I think even in almost every ancient culture?
They're everywhere.
The ones with,
everywhere.
like the fish body though, like there's a person
Yes,
they're holding
those are the
pot.
Dogons. Those are the Dogons. Those are ancient Mesopotamian gods. That it lends to kind of the.
They're also found in like Egypt though, and like
Right.
even in like Eastern Asia, they're found.
Right, but that stems to some of the transhumanism, like the gene editing messing around, right? Creating these other beings.
Or do you think that these are like some swimming things that came out of like the Mariana Trench or something? Or maybe
No,
they're
these are
frozen in the
definitely
Antarctic or something.
These are definitely, like, the Dogon people are an ancient Mesopotamia. I mean, my friends actually got from Lebanon. Have I ever debated? I've debate RBR all the time, Lawrence. He just lies.
I don't like that person.
The Dogon stem from like an ancient Mesopotamian belief system, and in it, their very sigil, if you will, is that Islamic crescent, right? And that crescent has been used ever since. And the whole stem off of that is even to say that, the Islamic religion uses that same kind of crescent as their identification, but it goes back to this Mesopotamian religion. And in that core tenet, you had, these very old, very seemingly archaic beings that stemmed from the stars, the Anunnaki, that were thought to be the founders of all of humanity and civilization, not God.
I've heard that name before.
But that it was actually these Anunnaki beings, Enki and Enlil, that were the main gods of the time. Interestingly enough, if you go to the first book of Enoch, they kind of play on that with Enoch and Ezekiel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being the only two human beings from the beginning of time that never actually die, that got to see God, meet God, and never actually died. Because all of the line before that, since Adam's son Seth was born, all of the line until that point, until Enoch, it all says they lived, 780 years and begat children, and these were the kids, and then they died. And then, it keeps going on and on and on until you get to that point. The thing is that there are always these little clues as to where they're going to take this stuff from. And one of the main reasons why I believe it was Constantine pulled these books out of, the Bible, and then King James ran with it in 1611, I think it was, ran with these editions, is because the elites were going to use these specific apocryphal books as the big lie, the big show at the end.
That's interesting.
If you look into what the first books of Enoch tell you, they tell you, everything about this whole Project Bluebeam. They tell you everything about this great alien deception, and that, they're not what they're proclaimed to be. They're not going to be called,
Do you guys
demons. They're going to be called aliens, but they're actually demons. They're the fallen angels.
That's very, very interesting. What do you guys think about how the ancient pyramids in Egypt are aligned? And have you guys seen how some of these mathematicians have done calculations of the size of the Earth and all these different calculations? I don't know if you guys heard my wife. She doesn't want to hear me. Have you seen any of that stuff though? How it lines up perfectly with so many different things?
Yeah, well,
it had to have been.
They go on a lot of these ley lines of the Earth, right? Because the ley lines of the Earth hold inherent power. They have natural magnetic power. And if you follow, a lot of those ley lines are all on the same degree. They're all in like the 33rd degree of Earth. And therein is the core tenet of where that tells you more than anything else, because the 33rd degree stems from, come on, Vex.
I'm sorry, I was just typing in chat.
Okay, the 33rd degree is the symbol of Masonic.
Don't be mean to James. Don't be mean to James, guys. James is my buddy, Ukraine.
It's the 33rd degree is representative of Masonic ties. And Nimrod was basically the first Mason in history. There's even a whole rabbit hole that has entire, tunnels and all sorts of cool stuff that you can look into about a lot of the military invasions in the Middle East to find the spear of Nimrod.
Dude, highlight cyber toxins. Those kind of things blow my mind.
They don't call me the queen for nothing.
The lateral coordinates for the Pyramid of Giza are the same number sequence as the speed of light. Yeah,
And
the pyramids
and there's other
themselves-
numbers like that are weird.
Yeah, the pyramids themselves, to put it really, really simply, you can think of each one as a gas station.
Yep.
They're
It's like a
energy
big
terminals.
circuit board, like a big
Yeah.
ass circuit board.
And they tap into the ley lines of the earth to harness the energy from it.
And they did that very specifically.
Absolutely.
From Stonehenge to, the pyramids of Giza to, they're all over the place. And then you follow that and you can find the Great Bermuda Triangle that's out in Alaska. None of this stuff is by
Bermuda?
accident.
In Alaska?
Yeah, it's like a Bermuda Triangle. It's another
In
Bermuda
Alaska.
Triangle, but it's
Okay.
up in Alaska.
Gotcha.
Mhm. And there are pyramids all over this planet.
Yeah,
Different
man,
versions of them, but they're everywhere. And they're all on ley lines.
Above water
what did
and
we
underwater.
lose? What
Absolutely.
kind of knowledge did we lose? Because what if we don't keep these fucking pyramids up to speed? What if maybe we're not doing something right around here?
Well, let me put it to you this way. The storm that they had back in 2019, I think it was, Dorian, fueled up over one of them and it was underwater.
Oh. That's crazy.
Yeah, I believe that humans have been on this planet, roaming it for so very much longer than what they're saying. We've had civilizations rise and fall. I just throwing out a number 6 times, and that includes one of them being Atlantis.
I can believe that.
Atlantis spanning the whole globe, and it wasn't a mega city or anything like that. It had different areas in different spots, but its central location was Atlantis itself, and they had fleets of ships that went all over the globe, just like we have fleets of ships now. They had a different type of technology that they used. It was more along the lines of Tesla type tech, but the same thing happened to them that happened in the fall of these other civilizations also. They were turned on themselves. They lost their morale, or not morale, their
morality.
Yeah, they lost their morality and basically killed themselves. And that's what's the pattern has been throughout our history as humans. We start getting good and doing good things. We even have reached a certain pinnacle of society, and then in sweeps these evil things that tear us apart. Left alone, we have the capacity to do great things, but interfered with, we are stunted at every turn. And this is what we're dealing with right now. I mean, poison water, poison air, poison food, all of it's poisoned.
Poison thinking.
Yes, absolutely. And this is something that has plagued our species for a long time. Now, where we were talking about the Nephilim and all that stuff, yeah, I believe that they were on this earth. And I believe that there are some descendants of it, but not very much. But I think that all these different civilizations have been interfered with by, quite frankly, dimensional beings that can be contacted through medicinal ways. And that has been messing with structured society from the get-go, because they want to come here. And they can't come here because it's inhospitable to them.
Wasn't it
So they have to change the
1972?
environment.
I think it was 1972. We got, or no, man, it might have been in the 60s. It was a 72-second transmission from space outer space.
Yeah.
It was 72 seconds, but nobody knows where it came from still, and we don't know why.
Yeah.
And it had an intelligent pattern to it.
Yep. Now, I purposely think that was a huge mistake on their part, because I do believe in actual aliens in this universe too. But the stuff that's been plaguing humanity is other dimensional.
And I was going to ask you that, do you see them as extraterrestrial, meaning they could have been us, but from a different era? Or do you believe that they are intradimensional, meaning other kinds of beings, like the sixth day creation kind of things?
I think it's a combination of both. As far as the time travel goes, yeah, I have a little bit less of a. I have a hard time going with the time travel theories just because of what I know about science. But
Okay.
I also acknowledge the fact that my science knowledge is not all that, perfect. So
Let me
What
put
is-
you on to something. I'm going to have you look into Vex the Majestic 12 program.
yeah, I've touched on that before. I haven't really gone real deep into it. I'll do it again.
Because there is a lot of stuff in that, and that was even within our lifetime.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, speaking of which, the Valiant Thor story, I'll go ahead and read off that a little bit. This is a story documented case of the late 50s of the U.S. government and the alien interaction where a man and a few companions claiming to be from planet Venus, the interior of the planet, came here to help humanity grow spiritually. He said that there was at least 70 other aliens from Venus living here on Earth at the time. The book Stranger at the Pentagon tells a very particular story about an extraterrestrial on a mission. His name was Valiant Thor, and many people believe that he was real. 8 a.m., March 16th, 1957. Valiant Thor arrived in a ship which landed in Alexandria, Virginia, in an agricultural field, according to Dr. Strange. That threw me off whenever I was reading that earlier. But anyway, Thor was about
that throws
6
me
feet
off.
tall and 185 pounds, with brown wavy hair, brown eyes. The police were the first ones on the scene and found him calm with only one request: to meet with President Eisenhower. So they took him through the Pentagon, where they met with the Secretary of Defense, and later with Eisenhower, Nixon, and all the Joint Chiefs. Valiant Thor remained in the United States for 3 years. According to the book, he had been sent to Earth by a High Council to intervene on behalf of the intergalactic community. They were worried with our nuclear capabilities, how nuclear warfare could lead to the obliteration of the human race. And it goes on to a little bit more detail. But that's also a story that, well, it reminds me of hearing about our nuclear weapons and all the testing. The testing itself, if I'm, well, from what I've learned from lots of different sources. So I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without making it sound like I'm just kind of batshit crazy. But in a nutshell, the aliens don't like us using nuclear weapons because the nuclear weapons themselves have an effect on other dimensions. So when we set off a nuclear bomb here, it basically fucks up other dimensions. And that's one of the reasons why I believe in the other dimensional influence, because there's not just bad people on the other dimensional in other dimensions. There's good ones, just like there's good and bad in humanity. So there are people, dimensional beings that are supposedly helping us, plus dimensional beings that are trying to basically crap all over us and kill us slowly and open a portal for them and all this other stuff. The nuclear explosions are damaging other dimensions. And if that is true, which it is very likely, especially when you get into quantum physics and hell, even string theory with the multiple dimensions, it makes sense. What can affect us here can affect things elsewhere. Now, I know that's kind of an abstract concept for a lot of people, but dimensions can be right next to us or across the universe. So, I mean, and it can be many different environments. We'll just leave it there, because quite frankly, let your imagination run wild.
I can grasp that concept and really think about that one a little bit. for real.
Well, and
That's a good one.
interesting. It's interesting too that you bring about the dimensions thing and how close, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different movies. Certainly, Doctor Strange literally opened portals to other parts of the world and just hopped around. Like somebody would literally hop around through, a hopscotch board. And with movies like the one with, I think it was Jet Li.
Yeah.
Very, very specifically show that, it's not so
Multiverse.
much that it's, not only is it a multiverse, but we, in essence, with our very thoughts, create them.
Mm-hmm. Each decision
Specifically,
spawns a new one.
Right, and it could lead to a completely different timeline. Even the movie Donnie Darko shows a basic premise of, an alternate timeline and the previous timeline coexisting. And,
Exactly.
It's crazy to me that I go to explain something like that. My 8-year-old goes, well, the timeline closed itself once the airplane went over and dropped the part onto the house and killed him. It completely destroyed that timeline and closed that loop. And I'm like, she's 8. I am in trouble.
Get that lady a science book.
But to the same extent, right? So these kinds of conversations and these kinds of, openings for thought can really potentially change a lot of things in this world if we utilize them properly. And I think that's where the whole concept of these benevolent beings comes from. Now,
So-
go ahead.
Did you see the one that Vex had? I don't know if Vex posted it himself or if it was one of the news or one of those bots that posts some news stuff. But it was of, I forget the title of it now, but it was like kind of an awakening of the majority of people, some sort of end game for a facade, and then the real great awakening would happen. It was kind of the way I was reading it or listening to it.
Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. It ties right into what we're talking about. That's the one major secret that they don't want us to learn, is that these flesh suits that we carry around are just that, flesh suits. We are spirit, and in that spirit, we have access to everything. Now, what I mean by that is, she just mentioned, Carolyn just mentioned about Doctor Strange opening portals. We can travel instantaneously. We can, everybody's heard the term astral projection. That is your spirit traveling. Literally, your spirit traveling. Now, we have access to all these, we think about them as superpowers, comic book superpowers and stuff like that, telekinesis and conjuring flame. Yes, all this other stuff. We can do this. It may not be the exact way that comic books portray it, but we can do this all on our own. All this technology is to, what's a good way to put it? Is to
mimic,
compensate for our weaknesses and the weaknesses
and I would
that were imposed on us.
I would even take mimic, right? Certainly in the creations of these targeted individual weaponries, right? To me, I look at that and it the way that they've designed these things, like with the voice to skull technology and the 5 Sank G stuff. It's meant to the crowd dispersing, all of that kind of stuff. You can feel literally through a structure, your entire body being heated up if you're the target of one of these particular groups. And they go steps further with very well-funded, government-funded, Rothschild funded. I'll go ahead and say it. It's going to be what it's going to be. Sorry.
No problem.
Rothschild-funded programs that are allowed through multiple alphabet agencies and multiple governments all over the world as a mass psychological experiment.
Mhm.
And it literally is technology that mimics spiritual attack.
Yes.
They use the negative side to control us. And they literally have been hiding and killing all of our God-given abilities. And I say that very strongly and very forcefully and very, empowered. Our God-given abilities. I don't know how many times, just personally I've had where I know somebody's about to call me, so I call them first.
Mhm.
I know somebody is thinking about me, so I reach out to them and I send them a
Well,
message.
Have you ever been standing in public somewhere and just you feel like someone's staring at you, and
Mhm.
you turn around and sure enough, there's somebody looking right at you.
Yep.
You can
And
feel that.
you
They
look
just- they
exactly
send
where
that
that was coming
energy.
from.
They send that energy right from their brain right to yours, and you're like, "What the fuck's going on over here?
Our
Like, you looking at
spirits,
me?"
our spirits
Right.
are antennas and receivers.
Absolutely. And it just comes down to energy and frequency, right?
Mhm.
That's one of the main things that they use to mess with everything, like even down to the clothing that we wear.
Mhm.
Pure cotton carries one of the highest frequencies. It carries a frequency of 100. Anything that is plastic based or polyester based, some sort of polyfiber blend, think about this, gentlemen, all the way down to the little boxer briefs that y'all might like to prefer, have some sort of thing in that effectively kills your seed.
Mhm. Frequencies are very powerful,
Sure is.
and they know that everything has its own frequency, and they can manipulate those fibers to weave them together to make a
They
frequency
can also be
to hurt you.
they can be poked right under your arm.
Mhm. All these things, it's been made to make sure that we do not learn that we are spiritual beings. We are not physical beings. I mean, down to the fluoride in the water of encrusting the gland in your brain.
As well as the shoes that we wear on our feet that are coated with rubber that disrupt the energy flow from the earth to our body to reground and rebalance our natural electrical, nervous system.
Yeah, grounding is a real thing, and and you can take it literally. Go outside in your bare feet and stand in that grass, and you will center yourself, or be able to center yourself, I should say. Grounding, you have to. Okay, if our body
listen.
runs on charge, huh?
Well, it doesn't have to be grass. If you're not around grass or
Well,
ground,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Real
do.
ground.
It could be
as an
the
electrician.
ocean. It could be, the sand. It could be the dirt. It doesn't have to be any one thing. And you can literally
No, it
make your
doesn't.
own
Because
patch.
I just want to make a point, though, as far as just a nerd. I want to make a nerd point, please, guys. It's like the only thing. It's the only thing I got.
No, and I know where you're going with it. So go ahead.
I'm an electrician, so we know if you're in a building and there's if all you have if you work in the middle of New York or something, and you never get out of the city, you can grab a piece of steel and that will ground you technically to the ground because it is connected straight to the ground. You grab a water pipe, it's made out of metal if you have to. If you can't ever get out of the concrete jungle,
To go one further, as an electrician, you would know that you could also connect a copper wire from the ground circuit of a electrical outlet and literally run that onto your bed so you have a grounding strip on your bed and you can stay grounded every time you sleep.
That's very true.
I mean, everything has its frequency, and like I said, we are spiritual beings on our own individual frequencies, and everything that we are surrounding ourselves with messes with our frequency. even down to the, of course, the phones, the computers, all the electronic devices. They're all on frequencies themselves, and they interfere with yours.
Hang
And
on,
quite
man.
frankly, it inhibits, or it doesn't inhibit, it encourages the dumbing down. Because
Why
if
do you
don't
think
have
they promote alcohol and drugs like they do?
exactly, I mean, this is something that everybody should have common knowledge of. I mean, the idea that we are not plays perfectly into the evil that's surrounding us, and that's quite frankly killing us. Everything they're doing is to keep us from figuring out how spiritual we actually are.
For safety reasons, can I just say, if there's a storm, a lightning storm in your area, and you just don't be grounded. Don't go grab the steel. don't have your bed hooked up with a fucking copper thing.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No, don't be in that room. Don't be on your bed.
I would not say run a ground wire to your bed. I would not advise that.
Yeah. Do not try this at home.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, there's people that
technically you're right. You could be grounded, but don't do that, right? You were right, but let's not do that.
well, and they have specific devices that mimic exactly that with a plug that you can plug in and put on your bed that does the same exact thing.
Well, if you don't want to
but
be
not
in that,
everybody has. Right, but not everybody has $300 to spend on something like that. So that's where the, going out and putting your feet in the grass, putting your feet in the sand, putting your feet in the water.
Yeah, I understand.
All of that
I was
comes.
trying to do a nerd point.
No, I got your point.
I know what you mean. Yeah, connect with the earth. I understand, guys.
Well, and then you can take
jump in the fucking
further.
creek. Fuck, get back in there with your bare feet. Fuck, swim around in the summertime.
We can take this a little step further and go in a macro scale, go bigger. And the Earth itself is a circuit. And then we go bigger still. Our solar system is a big circuit. And then our galaxy is a big circuit. And then the clusters of galaxies are a big circuit. And bigger and bigger and bigger. All the way up to the universe itself is an energy conductor. And we are made of this. I mean, think about it. This all points in one direction.
Right. And who's to say if we don't ground more, Vex, that we can't, develop back the sight that allows us to see into multiple spectrums?
Exactly.
To be able to see into these electric spectrums that exist with all of these light body beings all around us.
But we're straddled or are saddled with this burden of the physical plane. See, the physical plane, they've manipulated our physical plane so much that it's got our attention faced on it instead of on the spiritual aspect of everything. So that way, all these different disciplines of science and medical and all this stuff are so distant and apart from each other that people don't even realize that if we put them all together, it would explain our universe so easily. And this is part of it, what they're trying to keep from us. And to the point of chemically disrupting us. They're dropping the chemtrails in the air, which get into our bloodstreams and into our bodies. And these are particles of metal, particles, just not good stuff for the body. And this
aluminum, chromium, boron,
all
right.
toxins, carcinogens, desiccated blood cells.
Could you stay grounded if you had hook up a wire, just a lead off the negative side of the battery, and just keep that in your lap when you're driving around? Would like put the lead.
Well, you're the electrician.
Tuck the wire right up into your belly button or something while you drive. Stay grounded.
Keep you charged.
Stay grounded that way. That was Common Sense's joke. I took his joke, but I thought it was really funny. He's making jokes. Sorry, guys. I didn't want to interrupt. I know you guys are on to something now.
But this is a fundamental fact. Now, it may sound like, hokey superstition, to quote Han Solo, but it's actually true.
Very true. And in the going into this whole concept of, a global pandemic, a lot of communities, certainly these conscious communities, were very much promoting, detoxifying, getting rid of any kind of chemical addictions, getting rid of alcohol, drug addictions, getting rid of, any kind of food-based addictions, whether it's sugar, whether it's caffeine. All of these things seem to play a part in literally disrupting that frequency and keeping it diminished and dimmed.
And by that point, each one of those seems by themselves to be quite insignificant. But in combination with everything else, it's like a snowball effect.
Absolutely, because even, the very tenets of the chemical compositions and the frequency of these things themselves, sugar, plays a huge part in disrupting our, electrical nervous system by causing inflammation.
Let's try it right now. Let's see if the theory works. I'm going to send good vibes right on over to the Conservative Patriot because I like his hat. I think it looks cool, and I like him. Let's see what that's positive vibes I'm sending right to his brain. I'm thinking about it right now. And they're going over to him. What's he got?
That's something we can actually all join in on.
It didn't work. You guys, let's see if it works. You guys got to send him positive vibes too. Let's see if it works.
Yeah.
Because
focus on one thing. Focus on him being happy.
Yeah. I'm focusing on something else. Go ahead.
All right. Everybody focus.
He's got his thumb up. He's looking good. Looks like a good guy to me. I'd shake his hand.
I got a picture of him in my head right now of him chuckling.
Yeah. I'd drink a beer with him. Yep. We'd probably be cheers and beers, dude. We'd be high-fiving. Cheers and beers.
To interrupt this good vibe feeling, we have Special Ed joining us. Be nice. Welcome.
I'm gonna send vibes over to Special Ed.
They really just come up to do that.
Why's Patriot muted up?
Yeah, he might have stepped away for a sec. We'll see if he's in a good mood when he comes back.
I tried to send. Well, let's send good vibes to Carolyn. Your profile picture looks like you have half a shaved head with blue hair, like a new wave blonde or new wave blue haired babe.
It's a mohawk. It's blue and purple.
Okay. And you make good points, and you're a pretty interesting lady. And I'm gonna hope you have all the success that you want.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, anytime I send out, collective energy for a positive outcome, it always kind of boosts mine.
Absolutely. Rex
looks like a bear with green eyes, but he's got a great voice, and he makes amazing points, and I like listening to everything he's got to say.
Thank you.
And we're going to send ours to you, that you are able to build your wife her hot tub. Or come up with some other fantastical idea that is going to perfectly suit this very, very well-to-do, very capable, and very motivated lady of yours.
Thanks.
Well put.
You guys are awesome.
All right.
I feel better already.
Let's see, bring this down. There we go. All right. Yeah. Good vibes. I mean, okay, let's put it in terms that everybody can pretty much relate to. Your aura. Your aura is something, it's your energy field that emanates from you. Now, your aura has an effect. It just doesn't stop, a foot and a half to 3 feet away from you. It extends out through planes of existence. Your aura stretches everywhere, all at the same time. Now, the amount of power that aura produces is just a fraction of what you are. Just a fraction. Now imagine harnessing that fraction. You can already tell when you walk into a group of people who's in an angry mood, who's in a good mood, all this different emotional levels. Now imagine harnessing it and knowing what everybody's moods are in an instant without even thinking about it. I mean, it sounds overwhelming, but think about it in a way that you can control it because you can, because you will it. Now imagine a society full of these people. Do you know how good a society it would be? Imagine it. No more secrets. No more maddening debates with people who don't understand what you're talking about. Everybody would understand and be on the same page. And that is us without this meat suit. Simple as that. If you want to do it, it's done. But we're stuck in this meat suit to learn our lessons. Now, what lessons are we going to learn? Well, the only lessons that I really want to learn is all of them.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone that you can throw at me, learn them. I've always been, let's go, let's learn this shit, let's do it, let's go.
The more information I get, the better off I feel, and the more centered I feel. Now, like I said, I've said in many different streams, I'm no authority on anything. I never claim to be. I will never be an authority.
Well, I just come over here to hang out with you guys, man. I like what you say. I like to listen to you.
Yeah.
I don't think of you as an authority. We're internet buds.
I've never hid the fact that I'm a high school dropout who didn't, get my education.
It doesn't mean anything to me.
But I'm just trying to convey my experiences to you guys so I can help you understand the way I see things. You don't have to take it.
I'm digging it, man.
You don't have to use it. But I just want to put it out there so that you guys can do with it what you will. Now, some of the stuff I say it with the utmost confidence because I feel it is the utmost truth. That was a good sentence there. But I feel it's the truth. And if you knew me personally, you'd know that in my past I've been manipulative and almost to the point of evil, the way I treated people. And I seen errors in my ways. Not through, me having some kind of moment, but out of being shown from somebody else's point of view. And that got me thinking. There must be a lot more to this that I've been missing if I miss this. So I kept digging. And this is where I've gotten to right now. Where I see that our existence right now is, of course, not permanent. It's a vacation of learning hard lessons for our spirit. It's gathering up experiences and bringing them back home. People call America the great experiment, but I think our spirits are the great experiment. What can we learn? What can we understand? If you can open your mind up to anything, you can learn anything. All you gotta do is do it. Now, I say this to
I believe
encourage.
that 100%, man. 100%. You're right.
Right. I want to encourage people to look beyond what is in front of them, because quite frankly, all this is a distraction. We've gotten a better view of distractions here in the past, 6 or so years, but there's more to it. There's more to it. And yes, I can see you. I love Ukraine. I understand this is going into like Jedi type philosophy and stuff like that. But we all were just discussing earlier about how movies point out quite a few things. And as hokey as it might sound, the way George Lucas presented the Force is almost like what I'm saying. Now, in this type of metaphor, we would all be Jedi. We would be a race of Jedi. What you do with that power is up to you.
And it ultimately determines what side you fall under.
Exactly. Some people have a tendency to go one way or another. Just so happens that I think I went on both sides. And now I remain in the center, kind of. I don't know. I confuse myself sometimes.
I'm with you. I'm with you right there, man. Have you ever taken the political compass test?
Yes.
No.
Oh, okay. So when I did
I'm
mine,
almost dead center, dude, and I'm actually into the ideology side.
so where I ended up was very close to you, Carolyn. I was 2 quadrants to the right, which if you know how many quadrants there are, there's a lot of them. On the scale, I was 2 quadrants to the right from center and 2 quadrants up. So very, very close to center, but just slightly on the right.
I was
That-
1 quadrant down and in the right side. The left
Blue-
side, excuse me.
And you were blue hair to the left.
Yep.
Well, in
That's
this
fine.
physical realm, I would like to tell you guys that you are feeding the AI a lot of information when you take those surveys.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Well, and it just says what I already knew about myself, right? I'm more about, the holding hands and hippie stuff and, the
I was
ideology.
very slightly authoritarian, where you were farther away from that.
I'm more of the, everybody can get along. Everybody can find common ground because everybody has the same needs. Wants is a different conversation, but needs is the same.
Yes.
We need food, water, shelter. We need to have a sense of connection to one another. We need to be able to thrive. We need love. We need contact and touch.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be, and we're created to be in communities with one another. So by that
And I'm 100%
very
on board.
premise, there's going to be mediators. I kind of find myself to be that a lot. And we need guides, and I find myself to be that a lot as well.
So I've kind of put myself in that position. Hopefully I do it justice. But yeah, you described it well. A mediator, diplomat, whatever. That being in the middle has its advantages, but has its disadvantages. Because, well, I don't know. It almost seems like I have a special skill. I can see both sides of an argument. A lot of people can't do that now. I know you guys do that critical thing, so I'm sure you guys got it going on. But I don't see it a lot in general when I'm dealing with people. They can't see anything past their own eyes. They can't step in somebody else's shoes. They don't have any empathy, or they don't know how to access their empathy, or they don't listen to their gut. This is all aspects of the spirit that will point you in always the right direction, because your spirit already knows the right things to do. It already knows. It knows, like I said, it spans dimensions, if you want to put it that way. I forgot my original point, so I will.
No, what you just said makes perfect sense, though. Perfect sense to me.
And to kind of build to that to an extent, right? Our spirits have been here forever. It's just a particular time that God and us had an agreement to come into existence and chose this time. We had a specific purpose to be here for this time. That's something a lot of people don't discuss or even really put a light on, is that there are people here for a very specific purpose, whether it's to mediate or to bring rule and order or to bring kindness or to bring empathy back or to bring, love back. Whatever it may be, all of us play a part, because every piece of a circuit board does not function alone. It takes the whole thing to make it work.
And see, that's the fundamental lesson that we all need to learn as a whole, as humanity. I mean, I spoke about Atlantis before, and we've done some research on this channel about Atlantis because I found it very interesting. But from my understanding of the legend of Atlantis, they had their society to the point of, I don't know if I want to call it utopian, but it was a peaceful society known for its scientific pursuits and philosophies and things of that nature. It wasn't known for a high crime rate. And whenever you have something like that, it can be done again.
Dude.
And it has been many times. What's up?
So I've had a fairly privileged life, in a way, some would say, especially if you're going to measure it with third world countries and ultra poverty in other countries. I'm gonna probably respawn like in some real shitty country, dude. And it's gonna be bad, dude. I'm gonna have to learn the strife, dude.
Well,
because I didn't do it. I didn't learn the strife as much here. I learned some of it, but I didn't learn a lot. I didn't learn all of it.
Well, but that also could play out to where you've already done it before. Whether you
maybe I did.
lived,
I don't know.
Whether you've learned through any of this, and I mean, I'm willing to go to different schools of thought just to try to find the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in any one particular so much as I know that spirit is.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most important. And, on those core tenets, that kind of goes to what I'm saying is that we've been here, like our spirit has been here forever. We chose for extended periods of time, because if you think of time as a fluid thing, and God exceeds time itself. then we've been with him since our inception, since the very thought of souls brought us into existence. So
I like
we've
the way you put that.
basically, yeah, we've been here for eons and chose to be born when we were born. For whatever purpose God put us here, for whatever purpose we felt inherently called to be here for. You
I was
know,
meant to suffer so I could see the suffering in others.
right, and meant to struggle and live with imperfection and discomfort and pain to know what it is to suffer and live with discomfort and pain and live in pain perpetually.
Is this are we doing God talk? Are we doing biblical stuff? I didn't know
I
if
think
you
we're
were.
talking about pretty much everything right
Oh,
now.
yeah. I saw Alice in the chat. She's like, "What's going on in here?" I'm like, I wasn't sure myself.
Yeah, I guess overall I'm turning this more into everybody has such potential that that we really should explore the internal more than the external, and let your spirit charge you, because that's all it wants to do. And the more you get centered, the more you're going to find that you know more, you are more, and can do more.
How do you go about doing this? Do you experience, right? Life experience, become more, do all the experiences you can do, right? Like, and then all there's also the introspective thought process that you have to do, but you really just got to become experienced in life if you want to fucking own life. You know what I mean? That's really what you got to do.
Trail,
you
in my
live
trail
life.
in my trail through life, for me, it was being retrospective on what I had been through in my life and accepting it for what it is, and then looking back and trying to learn the lessons from it. Now, didn't always work. I mean, sometimes I'm quite, hard-headed, but it was making a conscious choice of figuring out, who am I? Who do I want to be? And it was watching the patterns of who I was when I was younger, starting out as, the wild-eyed, innocent kid, then to be beat down by the people in my environment, and then turning that into anger, and then into adolescence, I turned it into violence, and quite frankly, crime, and then learning from someone else that, basically holding up a mirror to me and saying, look at yourself. And this happened to be a person that knew me as a child, so it was kind of enlightening for me, because she remembered me as a boy and knew that I wasn't this person. So she gave me the thought of integrating myself. And that's what I did. I took the good and the bad of what I was, and I merged it together, and metaphorically embraced it.
Well,
And
that's also called shadow work.
I haven't heard it referred to like that.
It's called what?
Shadow work.
I've never heard of that before.
Okay, so what shadow work is inherently.
I hear about it.
It's not bad.
Okay.
Just let's stay open. We're already here, so let's stay open. So what shadow work is, it just basically exactly what Vex said, right? Sitting in any kind of space that you're comfortable in, and literally just examining all of the pieces within you. Whatever motivates you to do negative things, whatever motivates you to act out, or anything that could be perceived as possibly a negative aspect of yourself. And then looking at the flip side and the balance to that, all of the things that you can do positively instead of acting on the negatives first, right? Because you can have a competitive streak that can literally end you up in jail.
Or
But you
could
can
have
also
a competitive
have
streak that elevates the people around you.
Do you have
Exactly.
kids? Do you have kids, Carolyn?
I have 2 girls.
I'm glad that you do, because you got things figured out. And I don't know. I can't disagree with you.
So, Vex rounded my point, right? You look at the negative aspects and you learn to balance those parts of yourself, right? That's what shadow work is called. It's called going into the dark places within yourself, looking at it with honest eyes to see what it is that motivates those feelings, whether it's experiences you've had, whether it's people, whether it's circumstances. Yes. You find the root of whatever the negative is, and it's not necessarily always getting rid of something, right? You can use that same negative and turn it into whatever you want to make it positive. You can take that incessant competitive drive that says that I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to keep up with the Joneses, or I have to have the best. I have to be the best. I have to have first place. I always have to have the last word. Whatever it is. And you can literally,
yeah, me too.
You can literally flip that and say, okay, well, as much as I want to be first, it's also important to examine how I'm getting here.
Mm-hmm.
Am I getting here fairly? Am I getting here, oblivious to whatever else I'm doing around that situation to get me there? And am I hurting anybody in the process? Am I compromising on my own morals to do it? No. Am I willing to, potentially cause harm to do it? And in this current reality we find ourselves in, a lot of that balance is needed, because, at the end of this, we might have to make some really, 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 really uncomfortable choices.
That's for sure. I can attest to that.
So it's very important to do the work ahead of time, to look and say, yes, as a parent, I will absolutely smoke anybody that comes at me or mine. Because at the end of the day, that is my whole reason for being, is to ensure the survival of my people.
That's right.
But there's also a lot of openings that you can help other people as opposed to harm. And use your judgment to figure out ways to make it work. Okay, is it going to work every time? No. But at the same time, it's the balance and finding that balance.
At the same time, you could always just push positivity the whole time. Finding the balance.
You could.
While you're pushing positivity, makes it a lot easier to find that balance if you're doing that rather than pushing a negative.
Well, I've known a lot of people who are super positive. This one girl comes to mind in particular. She was just always bubbly positive. Everything was all sunshine and roses. When it rained, it was, to help the flowers.
I'm not necessarily that kind of girl, but I'm kind of a guy. I'm pretty optimistic dude. All right. Let's see silver
optimism
linings.
is good, but this was like over the top, always, happy.
Yeah, that gets annoying.
Yeah, but
bubbly girls are annoying unless they're really pretty.
But I did run into her later, and she had totally broken down because she could not take the negativity.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem.
Well, you got to get
Now-
some life experience in, yeah.
Yeah, I
Even
mean,
the bubbly retards got to get their bubbly experience in.
if you're made of ice and never been around fire, you're always going to be ice. But as soon as fire strikes, you're going to melt.
And it's no joke, and that is why we see so much mental illness in our society, even because it's gotten to a point where people are. I think in societies before ours, even in recent society before ours, like kids weren't brought up to speed so fast. You know, there was a long drawn out. You know, you get born in the 70s or 80s, and you know, there's a long family process thing going on. Well, now kids are just born, they get handed the internet, and they're like, you're in the world now.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier, about we're being surrounded by distractions.
Yeah.
Everything to occupy our senses, our physical senses.
Oh, another shooting star.
Well, when you see what Carolyn was saying, and you guys both are saying something along the lines of, man, I don't even know how you guys are saying it now, but I was feeling it. Just the spirit world, the spirit or the soul of everyone. It learns and stuff. You know, there's learning processes and all. We're sent here to learn and whatnot.
Yeah,
I've had two brothers commit suicide, two little brothers, and I'm like, did they just fucking learn some lesson and go, or? And they didn't. My one brother is still alive now. He has committed suicide 3 or 4 times now, and he's still alive. But my other brother has died, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on with these guys? Because they weren't mentally ill when I grew up with them, and they just started doing this shit. I don't know. It's weird, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I mean,
it's like
pretty much it's a
they
product
got
of environment. It sucks to say that. A lot of people use crutches. I mean, today's society almost, you know, everybody's assigned a crutch at birth almost. I mean, if not, you get assigned one by a doctor later.
But why would you try to leave where you are? You know, that's what I can't wrap my head around. Like, I can't.
Well, unfortunately, there are some
people.
There are some people that the world presents too much pain for them, existence itself, and there could be a simple chemical reason behind it.
Did they? Maybe he just had to learn it, and then that was the reason why he had to go. I don't know.
It could have been something as simple as a chemical imbalance, or he had something traumatic.
It could have also been the fulfillment of his soul's contract.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will ever know.
It was his time to download to the creator.
Yeah, and then he fucking put a bunch of, emotions in everybody that knew him. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's part of the game. You know, what am I supposed to do with it? Right?
You accept it. That's the only thing you can do with it.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing about dealing with people around you that die. You can't do anything but remember them. That's your job.
You know what sucks though is when you got a guy in your hands that continually tries and tries. And you're like, motherfucker, and then they look you in there, they're like, I'm good now. And then the next year or the next couple months, they're like, I'm in the mental hospital again. Did this. Fuck, man. That mental illness. Who knows what's to put in the water out there? Why the guy does what he does? I don't know.
And it could be that, but the mental health industry does not address spiritual. It addresses simply medical reasoning. It doesn't address any kind of potential, debt purposes or any kind of attachments that may be there. Because a lot of us are brought into this world with spiritual attachments put on us based on our predecessors.
Yeah.
And it just can fall down to that particular person inherited that particular debt.
It's fucking weird. My mom and dad are both kind of mentally ill too, but
The question you have to
I
ask
don't think that I
yourself.
am.
The question that you have to ask yourself, and everyone else that may even have a similar situation, is, what can you learn from it? I know it sounds cold,
No,
but what can
that
you learn
is,
from it?
man. It's hard. It's a hard lesson for me, man.
Well, of course. I mean, all the good
I just
lessons are
don't.
going to be painful.
For real, my mom and dad and both my brothers are pretty severely mentally ill. And I've lived with them I lived with them until I was 17. I moved away, got my own place with the wife that I'm married to now. And dude, I had to get away from that action bad, and they still torment me with all their problems all the time. And oh, dude, they're fucked up.
Yeah. Latin Patriots making a point about pharmaceuticals. Sometimes the government seems to label and mislabel folks to force them into meds by the judge. Pharmaceutical companies have much to gain from a contract with the government in this way. You're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
that goes into my famous saying of everything is connected, literally and figuratively. It's all geared towards keeping you from not knowing your spiritual self. Look at it. It's plain as day if you look at the overall pattern. From the inception of this diabolical planning, it's been about that.
Get everyone on something.
Yes.
If it's not
get as much
Coca-Cola, it's something else.
As much stuff as they can to clog up our system, to make us look anywhere but inward. Because inward is where all the power is, and they know this. They know this because they've dealt with it for eons. They know this fundamental truth because they've been keeping all this stuff secret. And like I said, once we learn about it and know about it as common knowledge in the general public, then they have control over us, and they've been doing everything to just clog our system, so that all we care about is, what football is going to be played, what's the coolest video game, and who's got fake racks on Twitch or whatever. This is stuff that's all distraction. Even sitting here running on YouTube is a distraction, because it starts with ourselves,
Vex is
inside
distracting
ourselves.
God dang it, Vex. Why do you have to be the distraction in my life, dude?
But I'm trying to use the distraction for good.
Why?
While you guys are distracted, let me try and help you.
No, it's good. You're pushing it out. People need to hear this.
I know you guys have heard this saying before. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. Right now, we are in between the last two.
Yeah.
And this has been made to happen like this. Now, I did stream, I don't remember if it was my last one or the one before, but I was talking about a bottleneck of time.
Yeah,
to where
that's
after a certain point.
That's the one I was asking Carolyn if she'd seen. That was that video, dude.
Yeah, this basically says that at a certain point, any decisions that are made will not make a difference past this point. That means that up until that point, our decisions have an effect. But it gets to a narrower spot and a narrower spot and a narrower spot, into the point of after a certain point of that narrowing, those choices have no effect on what's going to happen after it. Now, this is something that, surprisingly enough, some actual science is backing. Now, granted, it's a lot of theoretical, but it's compelling. Now, if this is true, that means we are beginning that bottleneck right now. And that means we don't have much time to make our decision, our choice. Now, I say this in a spiritual way, and I say this in a scientific way. Because, once again, it's all connected. The people that have decided to not take in information, truth, they're not going to change.
Oh,
They will stay that way.
yeah, they will.
This goes for the people who have other problems also. For instance, talk about the encrusted gland in the brain. The name of it escapes me. Help me out. Pineal? Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
pineal gland.
Yeah, the pineal gland. Encrusted. The people who have it still encrusted will remain encrusted. Now, this may be, cold, but there's no helping them after a certain point. Now, I say this in the broadest sense, as in, our concept of time itself. Because if this is the way it is, then there will be a to where it doesn't matter what we do, things will play out in a specific way, as per before that point.
Vex, do you see yourself traveling forward through time, or do you see yourself standing still and time coming at you?
Yes. I
To
see
one or
time
the other.
in three different ways, really. Those two ways plus of, well, internally thinking of different time takes you there. If that makes sense.
I'm trying to work it out.
Yeah,
So,
it's
if
a
you're
weird
standing
concept.
still, if you're standing still and time is coming at you, and time passes you by in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or could you be looking towards the future and being in reality, working in real time while the future is with you the whole time?
Well, my theory overall would dictate that you are the center and time is a concept in which our spirit would have, a laughing understanding of it, as in our spirit, it laughs at time because time is inconsequential to the spirit. So in that regard, your spirit would be the center, and anything that would be called time would come to you because you are the center.
I'm following you, man. It's about close to my bedtime now. I'm 3 minutes past bedtime, and I gotta put this dog to sleep.
As a matter of fact, I do have to get off here myself because I have work in the morning. Pulling them doubles suck.
Yeah.
But
well, hey, thanks for having me on. I'm gonna dip out right now. Okay, guys.
Right on. Take care,
nice to see
Survival. It was
everybody.
great having you up.
Thanks,
All right.
man.
Good night.
All right. Take care. Thank you for coming up, Carolyn. I appreciate it. And
Most definitely. I'm digging this background to this, man. I could sit and listen to you just talk.
that is links in the description if you want to check it out on your own time. It promotes healing. So I suggest everybody listen to a little bit. And I want to thank Conservative Patriot for coming up here and hanging with us. He's been on mute for a while, so I'm wondering if he might have dozed off because the music has that calming effect. But I want to thank everybody in chat for participating. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us and throwing those questions out there. I am reading the chat as we go. Just generally, you guys are talking about something a little different. But with that, I bid you all good night and sweet dreams. And I yield.